Hello, everyone. Welcome to the joy of testing. I really hope we're going to change some mindsets, and I really hope you're going to share these ideas with the teams. But let's start with this first. I think everyone is born creative, but it can be suppressed by fear. Did you ever had a wonderful refactoring idea, but you were afraid to do it? Come on, raise your hand. Everyone should raise their hand. Yes, it's warm up after lunch. Dangerous time slot they gave me during siesta. All right, so let's break some ice, guys. I want to hear you loud. Why do we write tests? I want to start with that first. Come on, some opinions. Why the heck do I have to write more code after I finish my job to prove the stuff? So why do we write tests? But you have to shout, please. So you don't have to fight with the testers. That's a good one. You can prove them that you are right. I like that answer. All right. What testers, by the way? They fired them all. I'm kidding. Please. I'm your tester. They upgraded them. I think Venkat once famously said that it is, what was his words? Degrading for the human being to have to manually test that what worked yesterday still works today. So we have to, as testers, as developers, to invest more into automating, of course. But come on, to not fight with testers, all right? Give me some traditional answers, please. For safe refactoring, of course. So if you want later to refactor, then you can safely refactor without fear. Without that much fear, let's say. What else? To pass the quality gates because they said so. We have to have 80%. By the way, that's called coverage rush. We're going to see in a couple of slides something very funny about it. What else? Documentation, thank you. This documentation will never get out of sync because it keeps running on CI. What else? Regressions, so that tomorrow when we want to do some things, we don't break it. Yeah, okay, indeed. What else? To be sure that the code really works, right? To be sure that the code really works. And by the way, you could have tested that it works by using this, if you still have one. This thing, you can click, and prove it works, right? But then, the moment you start clicking, your brain goes your brain goes something like, and then flat. This was your brain when you started to click, and then you died, and you are there. What the hell were I doing? Huh? What else? To what? To develop. Yeah, I could develop without tests. I mean, I did that the first 5 years of my career. It were very dark ages then. What else? Religion, thank you. Yes, what else? Because of religion, that's a good, that's a good answer. What is the best proof that you understood what you were supposed to implement? That you are able to write a test, of course. So in case you are not able to understand what you're trying to do, you won't be able to write the test. There you go. You're going to fight your questions against the business earlier. Whoever had a breakthrough about some missing gap in the features, in the requirements, and they only found it in the last 20% of the development time? Thank you. You guys, half of you guys, right? If you had thought of testing earlier, this wouldn't have happened, right? And of course, if you write tests and the code is impossible to test, that's a clear sign that the design can be improved. Let's call it like that, politically correct. All right, good. TDD would fit in here. It's another approach. Good. So, my name is Victor Rentea. I'm coding in Java for too long. For the past 10 years, I've started doing training and consultancy for many companies in Europe. Mostly, I talk about architecture and refactoring with senior groups, but I wanted to do this deep dive with you guys, especially because no one asks for unit testing. None of my clients, very few clients, ask me to do a workshop on unit testing because they all assume developers know how to test. They all assume that they hire from the market and they come to the office knowing everything. So I had so many surprises with senior groups going through this material that I insisted, let's have this, please. Once it's online, you can share it with anyone and make sure you check things on this list. I won't tell you rocket science over here. I'm covering the basics, but you have to know all this stuff. Good. I have a community that I'm very proud of, that I'm going to tell you more about the end. And I have a YouTube channel on which everything we do, and that we meet every month to talk about various things. And everything we do, it's also live streamed on my YouTube. Good. And because life. Good. So, quick round through the qualities of a unit test. This normally, you should give this to anyone new hire, to every tester, to every QA author, to everyone should know what qualities of a good test are. For example, it's sensible, it can detect an issue. It's functional, not coupled to implementation, so that it allows you to change a bit the internals without breaking it. It's specific. When it fails, it doesn't say expected 1, but was 2. It says something more. It points to it sheds some light in there, right? Also expressive in the sense that you don't have to understand some dark technical terms to read it. No, it should speak the language of the business, the ubiquitous language as we will refer to it. Automated, I shouldn't spend one day setting up the testing environment on my machine. I should just pull the code, maybe run a script, and then run. Repeatable. Did you ever run a test again because next time it will pass? Excellent. You know what I mean? Isolated, because there is some garbage left in the database from the previous test, right? That's wrong. Minimal, you shouldn't put more stuff. Have you ever copy-pasted the unit test? An existing one. Thank you. We always forget to clean up the stuff we don't need. We just copy the whole thing, and then, oops, there is 20% extra craft that we did not delete. And fast. The dream is to have a build fail or pass in less than 15-20 minutes. You said we wanted coverage. Excellent. I promise to come back to this coverage rush problem. Let's see what happens in this fight. Management fights against a confused developer or against terrible legacy. So management comes, very often a bank, from my experience. I work with more than 8 banks. And they come and they say, we want 80%. Coverage, and there is a terrible legacy over there, and the developer team is mind blown. How the hell? What do you think they're gonna do? Who's gonna win this war? Developers, right? Always developers. Let me show you something. The more code in here, the more code can be untested somewhere else, because our coverage is just a number. 80%. I can make you 85% with this. Very easy. A friend of mine used reflection to call all the public methods of all the classes blindly. 45% coverage in 10 lines of test. So coverage, as we call it in Romanian, coverage. My boss brought us brezels, I think it's called, brezels? Hot brezels whenever the coverage percentage increased. Of course, as you approach 100%, it gets exponentially higher. Although, anyone here has 100% coverage? Come on, one hand. Rocket science, probably. Satellites, bombs, okay. 100%, god damn it. Very expensive to get there, right? And the 80%, the 90% that you have, you should focus on the thing that matters most for your application. So you can enforce different thresholds for different packages. You could say the domain should have a coverage of more than 90. The total, more than 80, for example. That's a good one. And to put something clear on the screen, there is a confusion here about line versus branch coverage. Line coverage is very easy. It's just like a spy is sitting there while you run your test and watches what lines you execute, just like technically putting a breakpoint at every line. This is exactly what happens. It's like you put an invisible breakpoint at every line, and your JUnit would report what line it actually hit. But that's not as interesting as branch coverage. Ooh. Actually, let me dive to code right now, I think. Yeah, let me dive to code. So here it is, some warm-up code, just fine after siesta, just to warm you up a bit during siesta. So validate a customer. If the customer name is null, then throw. If the customer email is null, then throw. If the validate address does more checks. Good. And here's the test. Do you see? This is the end. This is tested code, huh? So guys, how can you prove to me that this test is not enough for the code in the left side? Easiest way to prove to the new hire, to the junior. What's the easiest way to prove to someone that this is not enough test for the code at the left? You are too subtle, too subtle. Something fast that you can... How can you prove? You just tell them over the phone, please right-click and try to run with coverage. You don't need to start commenting. We will get to that in a second. But for now, that should be enough. Do you see red in there? Ooh, what is that? It means you never went there. Oops, that's easy. That's very easy to understand, right? So then, red is clear, green is clear, but what the heck is yellow? Yellow means you've partially covered it. It means the name was never null, basically, if you read through it. So this is branch coverage in action, guys. This shows you that you've never entered the if. You always went with your test besides the if. You never entered really in this. Of course you didn't enter because there is red in the next line. So it's very simple to track down the places you've never been. Okay, that's easy. So how to do it? By the way, I brought my dog. Do you have a dog? Good dog. Yeah, Copilot in action here. So okay, this is how most bad code on GitHub does check the exception. This is not how I want. Bad dog. Let's see if it maybe it doesn't want me to speak bad with it. Okay, okay, that's better. So assert equals, interesting. Assert throws, my bad. So that's more like it. But it's not the right exception, guys. What is the exception? Illegal argument exception, right? So we're just going to run this again. And we're going to see one more place it should go green. Let's run again with the coverage. And you see this turned green, correct? So I now have covered one more place in my code. Yay! Okay. And I can go on and do the same, right? I can do this. I mean, this is called tab-driven development nowadays. Yeah? Yay! Let's see. Yay! Come on, dog. Good dog. Run. How much coverage did AI bought me here? Let's see. OMG, this is almost. I know how to fix it. Tab. Yay! Brilliant. You know that people started getting fired for using AI? I mean, they don't know how to explain what AI did, and they claim they did the job. And they get fired. I hope that wouldn't happen to you, of course. The point is here that we have a 100% branch coverage for the customer validator. Do you see this? This is a sharp 100%. Beautiful. Just using tab. Amazing job. Right. By the way, I don't want to push you to dark things, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Anyone of you ever did that? I promise not to tell anyone. No one would know. Okay, just 5 hands. Interesting. Guys, that is a technique that you could use to enter faster in testing legacy dark code. When you approach a terrible code, the impedance to enter, the first test to write is going to take 1 hour just to get accustomed to what you have in there. So I would use it to write 1 test on terrible historical legacy. But then I'm going to polish it, of course. It gets you faster into the job. This is what AI is really cool at. All right, good. But I don't want to make this about AI here, guys. I just want to tell, have we covered everything here? And by the way, in the meantime, I've also explained a bit what branch coverage is. So branch coverage is going to check whether you've entered both branches of an if. And a bit darker, if you have a Boolean expression like this, God help you all. Now, you see how this line was yellow? Ooh, why is that yellow? It means this one, it never went false. You see? So basically, you have to try all the combinations, more or less. Ew. 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 Whew, that's gonna be some work over there, all right? But the point is, branch coverage is more strict. Branch coverage you don't want line coverage. And again, professionals do not celebrate how much percentage they have. Professionals use coverage to detect places they've never been, right? This is the proper way of using coverage analysis. Okay. Yeah, that should be something fun. Look, let's clean a bit after AI, right? Let's see. Let's see. Can we do something better than this? Well, I could start with a valid customer. Valid customer, right? A valid customer. No, don't change anything. Just put it like that. A valid customer, which is a baby testing helper code, baby testing framework. It gives me a valid customer that I can use later. I mean, look, just look at this test. This is a good example of a test that is completely obscure. Why the hell do I have to put the email and the city in here? Why? Right? You have to figure out that all the attributes are there except the name. Can you imagine having 7 attributes and then 1 is missing? What the heck is this? Are you playing crime scene investigation? Which attribute is they forgot to set? This is not an expressive test that tells the story. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a method that builds me a valid customer, and then I'm going to start from it, and I'm going to say set the name to null. I'm going to wipe the null out of it. I'm going to wipe the name out of it. And I'm going to throw the customer into the validation. And the same here, and here, and there, of course. Here, boy. Good boy. But this one is a bit interesting. Oh, I want to show something also fun. Maybe you are not used to seeing setters returning the object back. This is a very comfortable way for testing. Another little thing that makes a huge impact in the signal/noise ratio of your tests. In one line, I was able to get the customer and wipe the name, right? I don't have to put it in a variable and then the next line. Someone even more geek than me can do this. Yeehaw. I'm not a big fan, but still, yeah, in one line, I get the job done, right? In one line, I get the job done. By the way, just for the fun club in the house here, if you are who's using Lombok in the house? Oh my God, shame on you. Shame on me also. How can you use Lombok? And this, you want this. By the way, the code is public already. It's on the slide. I'm going to publish the slides right after we finish. So if you put this, the setter that gets generated, automatically return this back to you. So it's very, very comfortable to do just one line to change. But here, I can't really do it. I mean, this doesn't compile. And I'm so angry because I want in one line to build my stuff. But it doesn't work. And because of that, I'm so angry. Because of this particular case, I have the following idea. What if instead of creating a valid customer every time, I would stick this valid customer in a field? What do you mean? Like this. Ooh, a valid customer. Okay, that's a valid. Actually, I don't really need the method anymore, but let's play a bit. So then I'm going to just validate the customer. Instead of doing this, I'm just going to say, a customer, wipe the name out. Good dog. A customer. Thank you. And then it's back on a single line. Do you hear the angels, guys? Beautiful. One line per. But wait a second. Why did it work? Did it work, by the way? Will it work? Will this work? Maybe I wasn't careful. will this work, guys? I put the valid customer in a variable here at the top of my, just a second to convince Java that I want here. Just a second, guys. Come on, Control G, thank you. There you go. And that's kind of it, good. And then this, and then this, and then this. Thank you. So, will this work? Have a look. Every test wipes out the name. By the way, why do you have to put an arrow and then a brace? This is useless. Anyway, the point is, will this work? What do you think? If I run it right now, it will not work. Who thinks this will not pass the tests? Thank you, guys. I'm in the best conference, by the way, my favorite conference in the world. And half of you don't know that a new instance of the test class is created for every single test method. Ha! And I'm talking to freaking seniors in the room here. So I didn't came here for nothing. Guys, every single test that gets run, then new instance of the test class. All right? And if we run right now the test, you're going to see that it's not a single instance, but 5 because I have 5 tests. Ha! Good. So what is the bottom line here, guys? It's okay to leave garbage in the fields, in the instance fields of a test class, because next test gets a new instance. I don't know where this feeling that we're going to see the same comes from, but I didn't came here for, yes, good, thank you. So, interesting. I'll get the point here, guys, just quick feedback. Every single test that gets executed, the framework creates a new instance of my class along with this initialization. It runs every time. It runs 5 times. So it's perfectly fine to start with some canonical data on a field, whack that data around. The moment you finish the test, that field is gone. That's the point. Okay, interesting. Okay. Yes, please. Oh, the factory pattern. Can you come outside with me, please? And bring the factory pattern with you. No, really, hunt me down afterwards, and we're gonna have a fun discussion. I hate the factory pattern. What the heck is a factory pattern? This is a DDD tactic, guys, that is very aggressive. I see it very rarely today in the wild, in the many teams I work with. But still, if you have a factory, then use the factory here. What do you mean? Just you are not talking about really you are talking about objects that have constraints about their integrity. So you cannot imagine a customer that would ever have a name which is not null, right? For example, don't do this, please. Not non-null. Don't do this. But now if we run this test, it fails, saying that you need here the, I just did what you asked, basically. Here, the customer requires a name in the constructor. That was a Lombok annotation. You can watch the recording. The point is, I now have to pass the name in here. Just the name, please. Bad dog. And then you have your object guarding its constraints. Interesting. But that would kill all the tests everywhere you wrote them. Right? It will be a quite, one more. Oh my God. Everywhere you ever instantiate the customer, you're going to have to pay the price. Not again. Why? That's exactly one of the prices, one of the things to pay if you want to have objects guarding their consistency. And the moment you do that, I guarantee you're going to come up with an idea to make this a static method. Let's call it a valid customer for everyone. And you're going to want to put this somewhere safe in a class called test data for others to use. So for example, I just moved this right now into a test data class in my source folder. It is a test data factory class. When constructing the object is very cumbersome, we all do the same thing. We create test data factories that we build valid objects from, and then we start messing around and changing the data we got from them, right? Another point here is that you should not have arguments to these methods. Instead of that, try to use the valid mutators on your side. For example, in my case, set the name to null, which technically should not even work. The set name should now fail. There you go. Invalid name. Name is marked as not null. This is some Lombo Kung Fu happening in there. But technically, you are not even able to set the name to null nowadays. Right? So to quickly fix the problem, that should do it. The set throws. Dark, interesting, fun. Okay, nice. But then, next thing you know, you have a customer not with 3 or 4 fields, with 12. Anyone has to create some object with 20 fields or more? Yeah, of course, like half of it, more than half. And here's one trick I found in several of my clients. No, don't laugh, don't laugh. It makes sense. It makes sense. You could ask yourself, in what kind of a sick world am I living that I have to hydrate the data from a freaking JSON? There are many, I won't say IVS lambdas, but many bits of code that just take 20 fields from there, enrich, put 2 more, and pass it over. For such a flow, you don't really have to carefully construct a correct object with, you don't care. Data in, data out. In such a case, in such a project, if they tell you tomorrow, if they call you tomorrow to create something here, birth date, right? Then you don't really have to do anything else. Then go to the JSON and here add birth date. Let's see, birth date. Thank you. What are you doing? This is a date. Shame on you. Okay, right? So data in, data out. In such a case, that would actually work. So in this case, your customer is going to be read by our friend Jackson from the actual file. It's a very interesting technique for cases in which you don't have really, in which you don't own the data. Okay? It depends on the project that you're currently working on. Cool. Let's see where we are. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Guys, let me ask you again. Have I tested all the code in the left? Let's run again. With coverage, it's just to prove you again. Then come on, that this on the left, it is his fault. I never can get here because it's his fault. He ruined my demo over here, guys. But because the exception fires earlier, technically speaking, that test over here is now incorrect in the sense that I don't even have to call validate to get the exception out. Just a second to get. I'm trying to make it also big enough for you to see. Right. That's gonna throw the error now. So again, this is all green. Guys, have I tested everything? What? There is no what? For what assert? What line I didn't test it on the left? Which one? Guys, you are, what line in here I did not test? The what? That's not edge case, that's called the side effect. You should all, at this point, say, is he changing the data?
What's that?
In the validator?
What's that, brother?
Don't judge. Life is cruel. That's made in the 90s. Good. The point is, this, right now, is not tested. How can you prove me that? Sorry? enter some spaces in the what? So, wait. How can you prove me right now that the code, that my test is incomplete? This is a tough question, guys, not easy. Delete the line, thank you. I will go over here in great despair, and I'm gonna say, and then run the tests. Green. What do you mean green? Guys, this is the most important lesson in this until now. What I just did in the left side, what's the name of what I just did? Mutation testing, manual mutation testing with these bare hands. All of the people joining your team should know this technique. When you write a test on existing code, you need to go to the existing code and whack it to see that the tests fail. If they don't fail, we have a problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is called mutation testing. The story goes like this. You come to a project, you see 95% coverage. You say, oh my God. But then you break some behavior and the tests stay green. If that ever happens to you, at that moment you stop everything and you ask, what the heck is going on? I just broke behavior. Why are my tests green? Guys, I know this for some of you this is trivial, but for many of you, this is the first time you think of it like that. So I will go to my holy behavior. I love the code here, guys. I just broke it, yes? Do you understand? I now have a bug. If I now push, I break production. I break my code. So don't push, of course. Just tentatively. But is there a tool that can show me that? Let's see if I'm lucky enough. Let's run this again. Let's see if the gods of the demo are with me today. Let's see. No, they're not. I think I have, let's see if in the target, I actually have in here, in POM, I have a little friend that I want to introduce to you. It's called Pit. Anyone heard of Pit before? Pit, few hands. Of course, it's not really very used in the wild. This Pit library is in here. You can take it and use it. This Pit, technically, tries to change the bytecode of my code to see whether it detects a change which leaves the tests green. So let me show you again. I'm gonna undo my manual break of the code here. I'm gonna run my mvn clean verify, and then this tool is gonna build a report for me in the targets folder, right here. Let's see. Let's pray together to the gods. Come on, and there should be. Come on. It says that you have errors in your tests, and that's why I did not. Just a second. Customer validator. Please don't do this. Okay. Again. Wasn't me. Okay. Okay. Still, no, I can't believe it. Oh, mutation. This probably means there is a supply class path, and come on. Pit report. Oh, there's something here, but it's empty. Damn it. Live debugging. 3 seconds to see what did I do wrong. Execute meal. There is filters. Did I target the right folders with my? By the way, if you ever plan to use this tool, we always want to target it to some very narrow packages, not the entire application, because you're going to have a very, very big depressing moment if you do that. So you're going to just say this. Okay, I forgot to do this. You know, last minute production changes in the project. Let's do it again, all green, and one more time. Minions! What do you mean minions? Play with me, pray with me. No, still not. Come on, are you really? Empty. No. but it's empty. The remaining after the break. I'm so sorry. Why? Of good did not pass. One test did not pass. It tells me, but who reads the failures, Victor? Who reads the failures? There's someone wrong here, probably because of him. Probably. Almost certainly there is. Yes, it is because of him. It is his fault. All right. Thank you. So the customer, let me just undo this. Don't do changes in production during the demo, guys. Okay? Just don't. All right. And now what? Now what do I do? Really, guys? I have to put everything back. This is terrible. Revert, but revert to where? Why exactly? Why? Why does this happen to me during the demo? Why? This is like PHP style. Right? This is a hash in production during the demo. And let's try again the tests. And if the tests are red, are green, I should run them. Pete refuses to run unless you have green tests, of course. And it's still red. Why? Because invalid name. I made a mess here. Yes, indeed. But good thing I have a dog with me. Good boy. All right. And what else? Search for product, which is Spring context. Why do you search for products? Just a second, guys. Don't. Thank you. Let's try again. We're getting there after the first break. By the way, to set the expectations, there will be a single break. The single break today. Missing name. Not again. Set name. And then, of course, because in the meantime here, in the actual validator, I now do not have back the if. Damn it. So bad. There. Good dog. I believe AI looks in the Git history at some point. How could it know? Oh, green. Thank you, Lord. Then let's do one more time.
One more try. I didn't know how much I loved you.
Come on.
Let me put my arms around you.
It takes a bit to increase the pressure. Pit reports. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a Pit report. And you have an index. And if I open this in the browser, you're going to see in the Victor's customer validator, line number 21, having an issue. Do you see this? Survived. I removed the call to the setter, and the mutant survived the test. No test killed it. Do you understand what this means? The tool found the hole in my tests. I never went there. I never have an assert for that thing. Oh, yes. So, by the way, let's have this exercise for a second. It's obvious how I need to fix it, right? I just have to use the dog. Let's see. How fast can I fix this test? There is a technique rising today in the industry, which is called test-driven AI. And I just start with test, and I type what I want. Void, check the name, or the city name is streamed. All right. And by the way, you TDD practitioners, thank you. And then at the end, come on. No? Doesn't probably, what the? This is epic fail. Yes, good. Get city, please. Good. Assert that. I'm going to explain what that is equal to. And now let's put a character there just for fun. This is, I hope, what I need. So I'm going to, but I will not expect it to have an error anymore. I'm going to, let's put X, Y, Z, 3 characters, and then X, Y, Z. You can look at the code afterwards on the Git. All green, but this doesn't mean much. Let's call a friend. Now, guys, I have a dream. Just a sec. I'm going to get to the dream in 2 slides. First of all, look at this code and look at this test. How much coverage does the test get you? 100%. Do we all believe in this? Yes or no? It gets everywhere, but doesn't check anything. If I delete the whole production code, the tests remain green, lying to me in my face. Guys, it's even worse to have tests like that than no tests at all. At least if you don't have tests, you call the testing team. Here, you're going to believe you have 85. You're dead. Okay. Now, I want to share with you a moment of panic that I heard myths, guys. I heard for many years, almost 10 years, I heard legends. But recently, I was able to see with my own eyes the legend. Please imagine a class x.java, more than 1,000 lines. It starts fun. More than 1,000 lines, with 87% coverage. I was impressed. 87% coverage in a class of 1,000 lines of code is inhuman. The test had 2,000 lines, of course, more. But here's the fun part. There were 67 mocks, 200 when, including stubbing the getters, for freaking sake. No asserts and no verify. I swear to you, I heard legend, but this summer, I saw it with my own eyes. I scrolled through the file, looking, what the hell is going on in here? The team didn't know anything. They gave us the tests. Someone wrote them the tests. Do you hear any management goal over here? Does it smell like a management goal? Oh my God, I heard legends, but I never thought it. The only way to prove that the test is correct is to break the production to see the test failing. So you basically introduce an intentional bug in your code, run the test should squash the bug, and then don't forget, I beg you here, do not forget to undo the change. I forgot 2 times. Do not forget to undo the change. And we've met pit tests that can change the bytecode of your production while running the test. It has a series of mutators you can try to use. Very interesting things. But can report false positives, can report mutations that are not really valid from a business point of view, or false positives, can take ages to run for a large project. So it's best to use to learn or on very, very critical code. A big part of the large Hadron, how do you pronounce it? LHC. End of the world accelerator, black holes, Hadron collider. A big part of that code base is mutation tested. Of course, end of the world, So I have a question next. I already asked the question. There were 5 shy hands in the room. Courage. But don't just push it. Let it write the first draft, and then you come over. So it will get you there faster, but just don't trust the llama crap. I've seen it in one of my clients as a pull request review. Guys, who here can tell if they look at code which is generated by AI? That's the new skill of life. Can you detect the code that the other guy pushed with AI to you? Interesting. Now, I have a dream. I told you about my dream. The dream is that I want to have AI generating my tests for the existing legacy code. This would mean like the chaos part. But then I want to constrain the results of that AI with some exact tool, such as pit mutation testing. This, I believe, is an emerging idea. That you're going to take some legacy code, you're going to generate some shitty tests with AI, and then you're going to close the feedback loop back with the pit, with the mutation testing, telling AI that you did not cover line number 6. Yeah? This could work. It's a good PhD thesis, if anyone has any friend. Right. So this is the takeaway. Check every code, every test that you write that fails for a bug that you introduce in your code. Oh, I saw someone here while waiting to enter the room wearing the t-shirt. Where are you? Wearing a t-shirt with the 6 stages of testing. Where are you? There, thank you. That can't happen. That doesn't happen on my machine. That shouldn't happen. Why does that happen? Oh, I see. And then how the hell did that ever work? Beautiful. Beautiful. Good. So, guys, I want to ask you a question, honest question here. Have you ever used breakpoint? What the kind of a question is this, Victor? So you put the breakpoint and then you play with this next stop and so on. Beautiful. But the question really is, have you ever tried to fix a bug using breakpoint? Ah. That's an antisocial behavior. And I will demonstrate. Guys, if you are in the middle of a breakpoint session, you have a notebook next to you with the ID of the order, the ID of the product, 743, and the ID of the customer, 75. And in great peace and harmony, you step into and step out to, and then dive more in and out. And then mother calls. You look at the phone, mother. Do you answer the mother? If you are 2 hours deep in a breakpoint session, do you answer the mother? Always. Because if you don't, she's gonna come over. Guys, this breakpointing requires very deep focus and drains your brain stamina, right? Kills your brain. After 2 hours of breakpointing, you are good to sleep. You are trash. Your brain is dead. You can attend meeting, of course, but your brain is dead. That's why if you just breakpoint through a bug, you will hurt the next colleague that goes that way. And there will be more people going that way. So how will a professional fix a bug? Of course, you reproduce it a bit. Maybe use breakpoint to explore a bit the code. What do we do next? If after you reproduce it with the mouse in the postman, what do you do next? Create a test, of course. The test should be read. And when the test goes read, you go, yes, and it takes you 1 day to write the test. I'm not shitting. I'm not kidding. Anyone spent a day to write a single test? Oh, you're my friends. Thank you. Half of you. Third of you. And then very important, don't ever do breakpoint again. Once you have the first test through, you are not allowed to breakpoint. What you do instead, log debug, log trace. That's it. Why? Then you fix, you find the issue, you kill the bug, and when you leave, you lower from debug, you put it to trace. You know why? Because tomorrow there will be another poor soul heading that way, in desperate need of information, and it will see everywhere trace, 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 trace. What he will do? Just lower the log level, done. And it sees the same output you saw today when you fixed the bug. Make sense? And then this lower the log level in production without restart. So many ways. Anyone had a bug in production that you could not reproduce on your machine? Bug in production. Oh, I can't believe it. Of course, it's half of the hand here. You can just go mysteriously to your production. Ready? Ready. Log trace. Log info. You take the 1 gigabyte of log generated in the meantime, and you study it. Good job. All right. The point is that bugs tend to stick together. Ever heard of the Pareto law? Apparently, it was proven also in software. 80% of bugs are in 20% code, because that is the most dark code that you have. So what's the feeling here? You have terrible code base, let's imagine, and then inside of it you have bugs. When you have a bug in here, you don't just patch over and tentatively try to blindly fix. No, you spend time and you do a bit of refactoring, you do a bit of cleaning up, and you write the test to surround that little bug you had. Tomorrow you're going to have a bug very close to the previous one. Writing another test to cover that bug is going to be very easy once you have the test in there. Make sense? You just copy paste, It's easy. You are already in there, right? So that's why I say that every time you fix a bug, you should leave a test behind you, even if that takes 90% of the time it takes you to fix the bug. Because statistically, there will be another bug found nearby very soon. That's how things are, right? Yeah, from Google, this one. Yay. Okay, fun. There is a bug on this line. Can you find it? My God, you are fast. Space, the final frontier. Guys, it's missing a space. Guess what? The developer copy-pasted. Copy-pasted what? From production to the test. So that's why I want my test to be as dumb, as straightforward as possible. Greetings, John. With no concatenation. A single plus caused the bug. Do you see this, guys? Yes? It's insane. So your test should be as obvious as possible, right? Do not do geeky smart tests, because wherever there is smart, there are bugs. Don't do that. Simple and expressive. Okay. Otherwise, the developers are gonna find their way into. Don't do that. Okay. Interesting. Let's see how the name looked in here. I have a question. Invalid email. Invalid name. Valid. This is not a good name. This is not a good name. I'm not happy with this name. What does it say? Invalid name. Maybe I want a bit more expressive. So here's one naming convention that I saw in many projects. Given an inactive customer, when he places an order, it is activated. Given a program linked to records, yeah, when update, you killed everyone. Guys, do you know this? Kent Beck has a wonderful post. By the way, you should follow Kent Beck on Substack, one of the best blogs I ever read, really. He had the kind of blogs you want, the kind of blog that the developer wants to read. 3 paragraphs. Dense, encrypted, zipped, just for your brain, deflates in your brain afterwards. Very good. He has a post. So I have a trick for everyone who tries to make a movie, a talk, or a video, or a book. You flip the 2 chapters. What do you mean, flip the 2 chapters? Have you seen? Let's find an example. A movie that starts in a Deadpool. Superhero movie, Deadpool. Yeah, anyway. In Inception. The movie starts directly with the hero hanging on a cliff, like boom, directly in the middle of the action. And then later it explains what the hell is going on. So here's what I propose. Not I, Sandro Mancuso, but the point is, be activated when he places, you start with the action. It's activated. That's the whole point. So you structure the name like this. An inactive customer should, and that's English, my friends, be activated when he places an order. You see what trick he did? He just flipped the action and the trigger. What is the action I'm after? It is activated. When? When that? It's shorter and more. It grabs your attention better. Make sense? You're there. Be activated. When? When he places an order. Okay. And please notice the name of the class. An inactive customer should. And because should scares everyone out, I mean, everyone, when you want to search for the test for this class, you just say customer validator test, right? You need to have the test here. That's why I don't insist for the should suffix. You use test if you want, because otherwise people are going to get lost. But the point is, you flip and you put, and also very interesting, the name of the class describes the context, describes where are you right there, right? In what setup, in what environment you are. I have an inactive customer. Okay, so what do we do with it? And then you follow up with the different actions. All right? Oh, yes. Anyone use assertEquals? Please don't, if you use Java, please don't say no to this question. Don't ever use it again. And what should I use instead? Assert that, exactly. And let me prove you guys, again, this is something very simple that I see people not using, and it steps on my nerves. Why don't you use this? By the way, my Spring Framework friends, you have it already in your class path by default. Spring Boot test brings this in. And I want to have some fun with you guys. Yes, this one. You have a list that has 4 elements, and you expect the size to be 1. If I run this with assertEquals, what will be the failure? Expected 1, but was 4. Beautiful. The next thing you're going to do, you're going to want to know what 4 elements, correct? Why are they 4? Which are those elements? So here's what assert that can do for you. In. Oh my God. Do you see? Beautiful. It tells you exactly the list to string if it did not match the test you had. This one is beautiful. This is assert. This is JUnit, the one that I tell you not to use ever, or even assert true. God damn it, never use assert true. Let me show you why. Assert that this list contains 100, 200, and 700. And guess what? 700 is not there. Can you tell me what message will I see when I run this test? What the heck is this? It's like an enemy here, right? It's like trying to step on my nerves, right? No, this is very fun. Contains exactly in any order. Ooh la la, do you see it? And you say the elements, and then if it doesn't fail again, it will print the original list. Hey, this one was unexpected. You see? Okay. This one, you can chain. So the idea is that you start with assert that, you put your thing, and then you start chaining assertions, and you can have 2 assertions, contains, does not contain. Cool. Okay. Let's see this one. This one is a bit more elaborate. You have a list of elements inside with some properties inside of them. I have a name, age, and race. And then I test various things. For example, I want to check the race to be one of these. And if you watched the movie in Lord of the Rings, there was no orc among them. So this is how you do it with assertEquals, right? Never use assertEquals. Because look how hard it is for you to get your stuff done. You extract the race, you collect into a set, and then you set map contains only one single expression, one single train of thoughts, no more variables, no more fluent assertions. Very, very, very nice. Oh, this one. I want to check I have Frodo with a given age and a given race, and I have Aragorn with this, and of course Legolas with 100 years. But if you watch the movie, Legolas had 1,000 years age. He's an elf. So this is going to fail with a beautiful error. The only chance you have is to click the line number and to figure out that something is wrong somewhere here, right? You're dead. You don't see anything. Look what you can do here. You start with your characters, with your, and then you say, give me the name, give me the age, give me the race name, and then tuple. Right? Very fun. I would also accept the previous line saying, give me the property called name and age and race name. Tell me, guys, what feeling do you have when you see the name of a field between quotes? Do you go like, this is the name of a property between double quotes? Something should go off inside you when you see this, like, whoa, no, not that. But if you by any chance change that property, the test is going to fail. So we are in testing. We can be a bit more liberal in tests than we are in production. That never in production. But in tests, what's the worst can happen? Fail the test. Right? Okay. Also, starts with, this is pretty obvious already. I'm going to skip this. But I want regex matches. Beautiful. By the way, look how I can use the dog. Ah, thank you. Very good. Okay, very good. All right, and now I want to show you this 1 minute ago. 1 minute ago, a classic. This is a classic. And how do you check that this is really not later than 1 minute ago? You can say is after, but you would then see assert true again. So I think you got the point. Never use assert true or assert equals, yeah? I think it's that easy. How assert J can do it, assert that is close to now by less than 1 second. Simple as that. Now I get in the mood of seeing some magic here. So let's go for the next one. Let's suppose that I want again to feel like Christmas.
Begin to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go.
This test will pass or fail? Fail, of course. Okay, so let me clear this a bit for you. So this test should fail because there are no presents, there is no Santa Claus on the chimney, nothing. Of course, this is just October. Okay, good. So how can I make this test pass? I mean, imagine this comes from the system under test. This comes from the tested code, this one. Tested code. Do you know any way to make this test pass? That's one of the traditional ways in a dependency injection environment. You can inject a clock and then use the clock to get the current time. But there is a darker way to do the same thing. Please? Wait until Christmas. So guys, let's close the discussion now. See you for Christmas. Oh, just wait. Right. What else? Static mocks, exactly. There is a technique, and we used to need dark forces like power mock in the past. Nowadays, we don't really need that. But these things are available in any language, guys. It's not only Java that you can do that, right? So let's try. Let's try. Let's try. No, bad dog. It's a var static mock equals good dog. And then I want to mock the local date, not time, local date, please. All right. And I want to pass all the, what was the name? Call real methods. So this little static mock, I want only to intercept and to handle the methods that I say. And I say that today, now is Christmas. So let's first of all make a local date called Christmas. I don't have that sound effect, but the song should play in your brain. Yes? Come on, come on. Thank you. Good. So last Christmas, and then return last Christmas. Good. And then when you do this inside, that should work because the tested code below here uses local date.now that I mocked here. Bad dog. Don't use AI. Do you see what bugs it just gave me? It's time. Boom. So the test is green. It's Christmas. Look, it's Christmas. Where I want to take you is a bit magic, guys. So the code, the call to the production, the call to the tested code is this. Call to tested code is this. And by the way, do you see here the given, the when, and the then? Notice how beautiful empty line I put in here? Right? You should tell the newcomers to testing to put here when. Given is the first part, of course. When is a trigger to production, the stuff that you're really testing. And then come the assertions, the expectations, right? Given, when, then. So this is okay, but I assume in a system that wants to do a lot of time-based arithmetic, I expect this to happen many times. There can be other things that you want to execute before and after your stuff. To give an example, start transaction, at the end, rollback transaction. I can have more. Set up wiremock, or maybe start wiremock, reset wiremock. You might want to do stuff before and stuff after your tests, all right? Like infrastructural things, stuff that has to happen both here and there as a whole. Guys, how do we fix this problem in Java and any dependency injection project, technically? What do we do when we want to execute magic code? I mean, you imagine what I'm trying to say here. I will have the same thing in another test. How can we do this in a project running on a server side? What is the technique? 3 letters, please. Thank you. Aspect-oriented programming. The magic of Spring, most of the magic of Spring comes from this proxying, from this method interception. This is what we're talking about here. Method interception. And that's exactly what I want to do with you now. I want to write a bit of magic code that is going to do the black thing above and the black thing below. Actually, to be precisely here, this. I want to have a piece of code that does that for me for every test that is in a certain class. So how to do this? Let me open here a custom time extension. It's already written. No, let's clear it and write it again. Okay. So time extension. This implements something from the framework, which has a method, very interesting name, intercept test method. Guess what that does? Right. So now what would I do? I will go here and I will copy the things that need to happen around my method. In particular, I want to here control the current time. So this has to happen before. This has to happen before. Then over here, I'm going to invoke the test method, okay, with the date fixed to the date that I am given as a parameter. I'm going to explain in a second. So when I instantiate this class, I mark the time, I get the time, and I put it in here, and then I configure it inside this strike with resources. When I get out of this strike with resources, that clock is reset. There is no more static mocks. But within the try with resources, I call my test method. So how do I use that? This time extension in my little experiment over here, I will just say register extension, time extension, and I want to make it Christmas. Actually, let's put it in a string because it's easier to read. There. What next? This is useless. It's done by the extension. This is useless. So you just reduce the noise in your code like this. So you technically control the time of while you execute the tested code. It's now Christmas. Let's see if it works. Christmas. So what just happened? You can open and close resources. You can roll back transactions. You can do magic around your tests to reduce the noise in your testing, right? Maybe you can set up some WebKit to clear some caches, stuff that you want to do for all the tests in a class before and after, right? Very, very fun. And the last example until the break, it has to do with a villa. Also, something interesting, but this kind of tool is useful for very, very dark and complex tests. tests that go through thousands of lines of code. Did you ever saw a test that actually traversed thousands of lines of code? Like long, long, long test, integration test that goes a long, long way. In such a game, there is a problem. For example, I expect here the villa to have exactly 7 guests, to have a clean kitchen and a clean library. Actually, the expectations are here. Assert that the guests are equal to 7. That's correct. The kitchen should be clean. That's not correct. Let's make it dirty. And the library is dirty. In such a case, if I run the test now, what failure will you see? The first one. But what if there are many other things that are failing? You never get to see them, correct? Because it stops at the first, because this is how assertions work by default, by throwing an error. And that error is gonna stop the world at the first failure. By the way, expected 6, but was 7, yay. Right? So this is a problem. How can we fix it? It's called soft assertions. You try a soft assertion. This is the dark technique. You don't use it for normal unit tests. It's only for long end-to-end or integration tests. And you bind to this soft assertion the assertions you want to fire. When you exit the try block, all of them are going to be checked. So if you expected everything to be clean, you're going to see now multiple errors in the same goal. Let's see. 3 failures. The guests expected 7 but was 6. The kitchen was expected to be clean but was dirty, and wanted but not invoked. So this is a way to register multiple checks and then fire them all as a single unit, right? It's an interesting trick to see all the failures in one go. Cool. Okay. And I can do the same thing using an extension. And now you understand what extensions are. This extension does the try with resources for me and injects here the soft that I can attach to. Break. 15 minutes break. See you after that for more fun with parameterized tests, cucumber, Gherkin, and approval and characterization tests. I'm going to put a timer, 15 minutes. Good. All right. There were a couple of interesting questions in the short break that I want to discuss a bit in the open. The first was that if, actually the first one was a bit darker. In very, very short nutshell, you should watch this talk from yesterday. That should be done. The guy here proposes a hack in which when you say assert that, you don't get the assert that we normally do, the one from assert J, but you hack into this method and you somehow get another method added to the options you have here. So for example, you can do here, you can assert that villa, and you will have a new method called has guests 7. If you have a very, very, very deep, complex piece of logic, I now imagine loan approval flows, or something that has a lot of complexity inside. Getting the price code for renting a car, right? Something extremely dense or pricing algorithms. You might want to invest more into building a test infrastructure. It has to do with with extending the abstract assert. After 5 minutes of discussion, we concluded that this is Java's desperate attempt to gain extension functions from Kotlin or Scala, but failing. Anyway, interesting. What you need to take out of this. I mean, that does mean a new class. That does mean some dark magic over there, extending some hacking things. I would only do that if I have a lot of assertions to write. If I have a lot, not 10, 20, 50. If I can use that thing 50 times, I will build myself more test scaffolding for the purpose. If I just have to do it 12 tests, I don't need a new class for that. Right? So this is this trade-off we do all the time. The more complexity that accumulates in a place, the more you invest in the surrounding scaffolding. Right? The more you put in place to get that easier to test. And that's a very interesting discussion here that goes into the idea of a testing framework, a testing helper. Some people put an L, other L, but anyway. The more the ones in the left use extensively Mockito, right? The ones in the left, AI can generate for you. Right-click Copilot, generate tests. These are testing method by method. The ones in the right, they go a long way through many classes of your application. Which one do we love more? How do you look them? These are easy to write. You just mock. In the right, however, they grant you more confidence. Make sense? They grant you more, you trust them more. Right? In the left, you're going to blow your mind by complex mocking. They are going to break everything you refactor. In the right, those are going to be more robust, closer to the spec. But they will require some scaffolding, some helper code, just like this would be. Right? So that kind of engineering we do to simplify testing the moment we have many tests to write. Otherwise, I will just declare it over-engineering. Very easy. Huh? So the more you have to invest in tests, the more you want to invest in building tools to test that code of yours. Huh? We also saw extensions. And I was checking the list when I got visited by the discussions here. So why do we write tests? We discussed. We talked about coverage percentage and the lie that it can become. The coverage rush. We talked about test names. I showed you the idea of having a test data. It was his fault. Test data. Sorry. I have to buy you a beer afterwards. Mutation testing, the only way to prove that some test is really correct. Bug testing, the ethical way of fixing a bug is by writing a test before you fix it, even if that takes 90% of your time to fix. Assert that forever, and JUnit extensions to run code around your tests in a clean way. Right? And there were other discussions in the break that I want to share with you. Another one was that I could have used to do the time extensions, I could have used a before each and after each. That would have worked, but then I would have to copy-paste those pair of before and after everywhere. And one day I will forget to copy the after. Yeah? Whenever you have tightly coupled code before and after, you try to intercept the method in Java, right? And there was another discussion that I now fail to remember. But interesting. Yeah, another dark discussion was that when you do this time extension, when you do this, unfortunately, this mocking only does not tolerate you running your unit tests on multiple threads. In other words, if your tests, by any chance, when they approach production, they lose the thread, you lose the mocking. I mean, if your production code starts running on 7 threads, your mocking there is not going to propagate with you in your child threads. It's very dark. But it starts from the idea that a static mock is a global thing. Okay, global for who and global for who? Global for my current thread. If you leave the thread, goodbye mocking. Dark story. And the solution for that case would be to wrap that little mocking into a time factory, which is just wrapping over the static call. And then you inject this cleanly wherever you need it, right? Which is very, very similar to what would feel when you would inject a clock. But the guy's problem was a bit darker because who was doing the local daytime was not himself. No, this happened in a library, deep in a dark library that I don't want to decompile and recompile. And goddamn. So in that case, you're kind of dead. Okay. All right. That was fun. Please, thank you. There were like 5 questions. Hunt me more after I finish this. And we're going to talk more about what bugs you and yeah. Parameterized test. I want to show you first of all a little test that I have. By the way, religion. Why do I keep saying religion? I want to clarify, guys. I'm a big fan of TDD, but also a sad fan of it. How many of you are able to apply TDD daily? 5, 7 hands, okay. Weekly? Same hands, interesting. The problem with the test-driven development is that too often we approach it with a very religious mindset. What I care about more than, I care testing early. Not necessarily TDD religiously test red, green, refactor, red, green, refactor. I care about testing early, earlier if you want. I mean, in reality, I say here, if you test early, you're going to get feedback about the requirements. If you test early, you're going to get design feedback that you can act on. If you do that late in your development, you're dead. You won't have time to invest in refactoring, right? So do test earlier, let's say, okay? So this, however, is an example of a code that you can play along with your team. There is a set of requirements. You can just iterate. It's an exercise. It builds into the mind the idea that you think of testing earlier, right? And you play this with your team every quarter, every, I don't know, learning day that you have a sprint. I don't know how you organize in the company. But I want to show you the test for that. It came out of a TDD session. First test, love, love. If you ask the score for tennis when the game just started, is love, love. If second player wins a point, is love 15. If, and so on, and so on, and so on. Do you see anything interesting here? What, Victor? What is that? Assert equals. Okay, correct. You're right. You're right. Assert that. Good dog. All right. Interesting, indeed. Assert that. What else? What else do you see? Don't mind that. Just that was a distraction. I'm not going to listen to you anymore. Look what he did to me. So don't get the gods of the demo angry. So guys, look here. We have this and this. Let me help you. Ooh, interesting. Exactly. Now, this is a canonical example in which you should think of parameterized tests, because all that is different between all these tests is just data, 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 right? Now, some of the tests might not match exactly. For example, here, I need to fix this a bit. Like, I need to add to player 1, how many points? 0, just to make the pattern appear better, and so on and so on. And here is like both have scored 0 points. So you see, when only data is different between your tests, you should think of parameterized tests. Great. And let's try to actually do it with a dog, with my parameterized test. Thank you. And then let's see if we are lucky today. So how does that look? I'm going to have a single test, the test, all right, which is going to take as arguments, and it's going to become a parameterized test, good. And that test is going to take as arguments an int, the things that were different, correct? Now this parameterized test has to have a method source, usually, and that method source, let's call it data, very intelligent, met static data, and that's going to return a stream of boring arguments. How many things can go wrong here? I can't imagine. Return of, thank you, of, and then come on. Thank you. I shouldn't put this because they're gonna have a problem on YouTube with this song. But anyway, okay, and then let's see. What do I have to put here? Of course, and of course, and of course. Good. It's clear what I'm doing, right? Expected score. And now I can fix it. Okay, indeed. I should have here assert that. Thank you. By the way, 2 times control space gets you to the import the static thing. In case you're curious, how the heck am I typing the things I'm typing over here? You should visit my website. In the talks section, I have a video in which I explain in detail how the hell do I do these things I do. You can pause the video, you see the shortcuts to do the same. Twice a day before breakfast. Right. So the tests are green. OMG, you saw green tests generated by AI. Amazing job. What should I do next? Refactoring came the reflex. The guy, the moment he sees the green test, that second, in that millisecond, refactoring. Oh, baby. Because now we have tests behind us, yes. But in my case over here, I just pressed tab, guys. Aren't you scared? You should be scared, right? You should be scared. You should be scared of this. So, what is the way to check the test? I did not hear what I wanted to hear. Mutation. Go there, whack something out. Would that fail? Thank you. Just don't forget to undo the change. I repeat, you will forget. When you try to play this in your practice, you will forget. Good. Good. So parameterized test. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Who uses parameterized tests in your... 2/3. 2/3 of you, more than 2/3. Did any one of you guys have the impression that people abused parameterized tests? There you go, 10%. Interesting. These can be abused. Let me show you one way to abuse it. Someone forgets to stop. Yes, many parameters. Clean code tells us that if you have more than 3 parameters, you should think of creating a little class. Correct? So one of the ideas to start the discussion would be to, because you know what happens afterwards? You wonder, what the heck does that mean? Imagine having not just 2 commas over here, many commas. And then you will wonder, what is this 0? How will you find out? Scroll carefully down, count the parameters, parameter number 5, where are you? And count the parameter in the bottom. Gross. So, Glord gave us record. Is it that smart? No? Record? Come on. Yeah, but not parameterized test, but probably it's my typo. Test case. Interesting. Record test case, good. And then this comes here as a test. Very, 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 very simple case, right? Test case. You just, yeah, thank you. You increase the expressiveness of your code with records, nothing more. That's why they gave us records. Good. And here, instead of doing arguments of, you do everywhere new test case. Does it make sense what I'm doing over here? Test case. Just a new little class that I'm built for myself to see this. That's why I struggled to see the name of the parameter that I gave, to see these here in plain sight. If you have more than 3, always do this. Okay? So parameterized tests. Okay, okay. Interesting. Let's put aside about parameterized tests. Parameterized tests. Ever heard of multicollinearity? Anyone heard of multicollinearity by now? I hope not. If you do, you probably have a PhD in statistics. The point is, I'll give you an example. If you have 3 input parameters, for example, the first parameter can take the value 1, 2, 3. The second parameter can take the value 7, 8. And the third parameter can take the value true or false. Now, if, pay attention, if you can combine everyone with everyone, then it means you multiply 3 possibilities there with 2 by 2, correct? You get 12 distinct valid combinations with only 3 parameters. That's amazing, guys. That's amazing. This is a good example of a parameterized test. When the arguments involved produce a Cartesian explosion, if all the combinations are valid and relevant, that's a good use case of parameterized test. It's bad if they only produce 3 combinations. What I want to say is that if you combine 1, for example, with 7 and that's false, it's not correct. 7 and false doesn't work. It's not valid from a business point of view. It does not make sense to combine. To give you an example, Boolean, true, exception, string, exception message. These are correlated parameters, correct? You could argue that I don't really need the Boolean true exception. I could just look at the string to see whether I have a string or not, right? But maybe I want to further check the message of the exception, right? Those would be correlated parameters. If you heard of the concept of combinatorial testing, these are the concepts coming from that part, from that school. Now, if you have more parameters than 3 or 4, create a class for that to give them names. And if you have many, how to put this, many cases to exercise, but these are not just primitives, but structures. I think I still have a terrible example here. I deleted it, haha. Can I see the terrible thing yet? I was so ashamed that I deleted it in the, look. You see, I now have here, I'm passing not just a string and a number, I'm passing an object here, you see? And that object is hacked in different ways. This is not fun. This is not fun. This gets very easy out of hand and it gets to very, very hard to maintain tests. Instead of doing this, what I recommend you to consider is file-based testing. I'm going to show you in a second. Also, I want to give a word of recognition to this. When you have 3 booleans and you do if inside the test. I'm not sure if you understand what that feels, guys. You start this and you put if true or expected to throw, then it's a parameter to this method, then do that, else it should not have thrown. And this is the road to hell, right? If you insist and if you put 2 more ifs, you're dead. Okay? At this point, you'd better be off by creating separate test classes. So separate tests by themselves. Just like the same way when you have Boolean parameter to any method in clean code, the first thing to think of is, can't I break the function in 2? The same way we break the test in 2. Right? So my rule is like 2 Booleans, I don't like it already. Right? If there's 3, it won't pass my pull request. No, what the heck? If statement in the test. And then you have a bug in the if, you know? Or bug in the test. Okay, so in here, I hope this makes sense. And I want to point out something very interesting, philosophical a bit. There are 3 categories of tests. We should enter the slow thinking mode, guys. No? 3, the elders, 3 types of tests. The first test checks the return value. You do stuff. That code under test returns you stuff that you assert. Beautiful, very maintainable test, excellent test. Exactly the kind of test we had in front of us here. I'm just asserting the result returned. Beautiful, pure functions. Pure. just returning results, no side effects. Beautiful. But life is cruel to us. And sometimes the code under test does not just give us a result back, but it changes some state in the outside world. It could be the state of an object that I passed in. Remember the terrible example I gave you with customer validator? You remember this? This is so evil. It changes the parameter I'm given. Bad, bad dog, bad Victor. Okay? Very bad. All right? But this is what I'm trying to say here. It could, this collaborator object, like the parameters, it could change the state of its own, like set a field inside of it that I have to assert afterwards, right? And also I could go and look in the database or on the file system to see a change that persisted or written somewhere. These qualify as state-based. What is the other type of test? The other type will involve what? Interactions, mocks. Our friends mocks. You verify, you stop, you check the interaction with the other objects. Look where we are here with the maintainability. These will break every time this interaction would change, right? So we try constantly to get more at the top. The more complex a piece of behavior is, the more you want to make it a pure function. The more you want to insist to just return a result, and you're going to try to pass immutable objects in, you're going to try to return out the results of that complex computation, right? So if you get that far as to having only data in, data out, then parameterized tests are your friend, which is very, very nice, right? Okay, so parameterized tests. And I also mentioned something dark about using files. Ooh. Let me show you this. And I'll let you guess what do you think happens here. Just a second to put the... do you know what a CSV is? Yeah, but what is this extension? This is how you get money in your bank account. Okay. So, yes, and of course, because it's comma, we have semicolon. But the point is, this is the input JSON, this is the output CSV. What do you think happens in here? Magic, and not that magic. Tell me, what do you think happens? Maybe this helps. So I have typical, you should look here, and you should look here. What do you think happens? Who can guess? Not typos. I have a file named in.json, and I have a file named out.csv. Should I ask AI what happens here? Thank you. The production code is something that transforms the JSON over there into the CSV on the other side. We guess. Exactly. I'm testing an exporter of a CSV. And this JSON over here, it's actually a list. A list of what? Name, barcode, category, created date. Who has this? Let me just... Ooh. Name. What is this? Name. Category, come on, too many keys. Name, barcode, category, created date. So what am I doing here, guys? I am building an object from the JSON, throwing in the export, and then checking that the result matches this. Make sense? Okay, and how does this work with parameterized tests? Let me get you there. We have a product exporter test, which of course I wrote a bit of framework myself. It's very simple. It scans for these input JSONs and transforms from input JSON to match the output CSV. And then you have a parameterized test, which is just going to give you the file input and the file output. Is it clear what happens over here? The rest is done. Good. And the export render test writes the content. What did I do? I moved the problem. So how would I write a new test? Tell me that if you get. How will I write a new test? For example, let me run this with coverage. Let's see where do we get in the existing code. I have an issue here. I have to run it again. Come on. Again, coverage. Thank you. Yeah. Do we get everywhere? Yes, we do. But let's suppose that, for example, in case the category is null, we did not ever go to kids. Look, red. So how to check that? Add a file. Add a file, don't change one. That's an interesting discussion here. I should add a new file called, let's say, kids category. There should be here kids and another output, which is kids CSV. And I'm going to do something very mysterious right now. The kids category should match the name. I'm going to do something very mysterious next. Kids category. I'm going to run the test, even if I did not change this. What's going to happen now? The test will fail. The test will fail, saying the kids expected file did not match the one that was actually produced. Click here to see the difference. I'm going to use my eyes right now to inspect what is here. I'm going to look and say, this sounds correct. And then, if I consider this to be correct, what would I do? Take it from there. Copy. Oh no, don't do this, Victor. You are live. And run. What I just did now, it's called characterization testing. We are building tests around the existing code by going everywhere, by throwing in more input at the old code to see how it behaves. And let me tell you a funny story about this. It's about testing legacy. And I should ask, come on, testing legacy, which is my PowerPoint makes me. Ever saw 1,000 lines in a file? You keep your hand up if you saw 10,000 lines in a file. Anyone more than that? I hope not. Only C++ probably. Okay, interesting. How do we test such a class? What? How do we test it? We don't. We nuke it. No, we can't say this because if you try to rewrite it, you're going to do tons of bugs. There was a discussion in the break that I want really to continue after we end. How do we approach some terrible legacy that keeps having new change requests? We want to refactor and unit test the old code, but they keep changing the requirements with more features. It's a very dark story. Now, I'm going to tell you the story of how they were able to test and to completely refactor a class of 35,000 lines of code. It is the biggest class I ever saw in my personal experience. 35,000 lines of Java code, 15 years old code, and they completely broke it into pieces by using the following technique, the characterization testing that we're doing just now. But first of all, a bit of secrets for you guys. So this is the chapter, yes? Legacy code testing. I want to ask you, first of all, what is encapsulation? What does that mean, encapsulation? In one word, simple. Hiding, exactly. Private, hiding things, perfect. You know what? Screw it. If you have terrible legacy code, I hereby give you my blessing to make all the garbage public and freaking test it. There, I said it. Now you have me on camera. It's better to, we have carefully encapsulated the shit. Thank you, no. I would rather make things public to get them under test slowly. Then, you are allowed to use dark techniques like partial mocking, static mocking, control global state. Dark techniques that I would otherwise forbid you to use. But these are allowed when you approach terrible legacy like that. Then also, remember the horror legend I showed you with no asserts in the entire class? If anyone ever asks you to write tests for old code without changing a single line in the old code, please quit your job. It is not human to approach terrible, horrible code without being allowed to touch a single line and just write the tests. This is what happened to that team that wrote those terrible tests. They told them, don't touch the code, just write the tests. It is not human. You need to do some bits of polishing. So, for example, if you have a terrible 35,000 lines of code, first of all, you will identify maybe what three functions do. Grab them, take them out in another class, unit test the class, and so on, piece by piece. Right? That should be the first attempt. And you do exploratory refactoring to see what's there. You undo everything, you start over 30 minutes later. Then, if you really decide to get things through, baby steps, pair programming, more programming, you should not be alone when facing dark legacy. There should be a friend with you. Okay, keeping the light in there. It's very, very horror and it's depressing. I've been there. Extract and test the code that you identify to have a clear role. But if you fail to do any of these, despite your hacking, you can't refactor, you can't really extract anything, it's just a pile of then what you can do is to try to snapshot the current behavior of the old code. And I will tell you this story. If you have some legacy code with 0 tests that runs in production for 10 years, does it have any bugs? I mean, no. I can't ask you this, but if you have some code which is there for 10 years, and if you want to refactor, you can assume it is correct. Let me rephrase it. Did you ever fix the bug and the users cried? You fixed the bug, and they called you, Victor, what did you do? I fixed the bug. Why? If the code is old and running there, it becomes its own specification. The production code, as it ages, becomes its own specification. So there, we can assume it is correct. There are 10 bugs in there, but I don't care about them. What I care more about is to refactor that code to make it clean. So then what do? The goal is to preserve the behavior, not to find bugs. It's a different goal. It's to freeze the behavior. Make sense? So what do? We identify and capture all the outputs and inputs. It took them 9 months to do this. 35,000 lines of code in a single class had 100 other classes around it that it was using. They identified all the inputs and outputs, and read there the parameters that the methods take, the result of the queries from the database, the time, the random, the UUID, the sequences, all the information that was brought in the code under test, under study, and you record all the outputs that it has. I mean, the values returned to you, the database inserts or updates that were done, the API calls, the message on Kafka that were sent, everything you write in files. You write everything in files, terabytes of files, and then what? You rerun all that on the refactored version. Does this make sense? This is what we've done. But we've done it manually by using coverage report to show us that we've never been there, right? So we run this now, and kids should go green if I run again. I could run again with electronics, and another one for this. What is this? Is there any other category in there? For the category, what category do I have inside? Uncategorized. Then why is it this? Oh my God. Oh my God, PR rejected. If you use a return switch on an enum, because that's an enum, you are not allowed to have default. What is this? Shame on me. Uncategorized. So bad. I'm so ashamed. It's in public. Oh my God. No default. No default allowed. I will fail the pull request with no mercy. PR reject illegal default. If using the switch on enum as expression. Long story short, now it's better. So I'm going to have to write 1 and 2 more tests to get everything green. And after I'm green with everything, I'm going to start refactoring. You get what I'm trying to put here? We throw more inputs in the code under study to get everything green. I'm going to play some mutation testing every now and then. And when I'm pretty safe, I'm going to start refactoring. Okay? What they did, they recorded 1.5 years of production. It was before GDPR, long time ago. It was a masterpiece what they did, right? And that's called golden master technique. You record the actual output and input from freaking production. Now in the cloud era, we have another technique called shadow testing. We copy the input to another deployment, and we see that the outputs are the same, right? That works, also works, as long as you don't have a database. When you have a database, it gets very, 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 very ugly, but you can still do it with a database, right? The idea is to compare the old with the new with as much input as you can. So you can leave this in production for 3 months to see what differences you record. And if there aren't any, you first light a candle. And then right? It's risky, but it works. Good. Ooh, cucumbers. Just a second. Have we finished with everything else? Parameterized test, characterization test, I can mark them as done. And the approval test is that technique in which you did a change. Approval test I did not show you really. I've showed you how you can explore unknown code. But also by that, in that system, that place, I can do a little change in here. For example, the created by must change the format. Ooh. Formatted, and I will use that bad. You know? You should hear the laughter. If you know, if you work with, not me, United States. If you work with United States, this is going to be very fun. Because, yeah, you know. So if this is a change you want to do, you can just run your tests again right now. The tests are going to blow. What's happening here? Why are my tests green? Wait, I'm now officially scared. This is not expected for me. What? Created by? Don't I have a created by here? I have. Why didn't this break my tests? Remove the by? What line? I'm formatting a user over here? Beautiful. And how can I format a user? It's the Java 17 formatted method. Oh, what shame. Oh my God. Here, thank you, Lord. Oh my God. Now that's some more programming over here. Thank you, now you should see go failing. I was just formatting a string. How cool is this? Good. Break. What do I do now? I did a change in the old code. I have failures everywhere. What will I do next? I will first inspect to see both. Okay, this is very stupid, but you get the point. And then I'm going to copy this into the actual file, correct? This is how I'm going to, this is called approval testing. In other words, you do a Tarzan-style change in the production code. You go to the tests, You see how they fail, and you bless the change by pasting the expected into the actual into the expected. And we can do this over and over to get through. Make sense? This is called approval testing. Is when you have some very dark pieces of logic that you don't really you can't really tell where it will blow up. You can just do the change, go with the test result to your business. Hey, business, is this correct? The business says yes, and then you copy paste them. You usually ask for some second opinion from a business guy here on this. Not fun place. You should know what you're doing in there, not just Tarzan your production and see how the tests broke. But it's also a technique for desperate cases. Good. And now my favorite, which I want to dedicate. Yes, I have enough time. Gherkin. Ooh, nice. Turbo. Let's see. Gherkin. How do I approach this? Anyone uses here Gherkin? Given, when, then? Only 1/4 of you. So this is going to be fun. Guys, to make a bit of structure here. I know it's a bit chaotic apparently, but then we draw some conclusions over here. The theme of this discussion today is how to improve the signal, how to improve the expressiveness of your tests and to put back the joy in testing. And behavior-driven development, or if you want the Gherkin language, if you ever heard of these, you might call them cucumber. You might call them JBehave tests. You might call them functional tests. These are tests which are written in a human, non-technical human language. It all starts from the following question. The developer wondering if he or she understood correctly the requirements. Ever had emotions on this theme? Like thinking, did I really get the point? Am I really implementing the right thing? After all, I'm approving a loan credit here. I mean, I'm approving ooh la la. Did I get the right thing? To imagine loan approval, imagine price calculation, discount application, imagining very important numbers, very important behavior. So how can that guy on the left, right, be sure that he understood what the business wanted? Well, that's quite of a question. Now, the first problem is the language. If the developer goes to the business and starts talking about int and string and null, this is gonna run, right? If these guys, even worse, if these guys start talking about financial indicators, this guy's brain is gonna blow. If any of us unleashes hell on the other, we kill each other. Right? So we have to have this middle ground in between in which we can understand each other. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a test. Given an empty game, when player 1 scores player 1 points and player 2 scores, then the score is, and those are placeholders, right? That you can find in the table below. This feels like a parameterized test, isn't it? Exactly, the mapping would be to this. Okay, and what happens under the hood is that you talk to your business in these terms above, but then somewhere in the back, there is some, and you get it signed off by the PO, and you squeeze a drop of blood from the business. Not sure if you know what I mean over here. It's called the non-repudiation. There is a better term. Cover your assets. Or how British say, it's about having a proof that you understood what they want. Right? And then you have to write the missing pieces. The missing pieces are these little methods that interpret everything that you wrote in the left, have to have a matching method in the right. Excellent. And that glue code is, by the way, this is called glue code. This is the classical terminology. This glue code over here can configure mocks, can insert or select the database, can configure wire mocks, can set fields, load, check files, anything you want. right? And you put them under such when, then, Okay. Let's have let's actually rewrite the test we did for the tennis with such a behavior, with such a cucumber test. Let's see how this works. So we have the tennis. Let me bring it back to life. And now, ooh, what is this?
What does this button do? Please, please, do not push the button. You have no idea.
Interesting. Okay, everything fails. Okay, good. It's a good start, but then what? You see, this given, if you hover your mouse over here, this becomes a hyperlink in IntelliJ. And if you click, it gets you to the corresponding code. Let me bring it back larger for you. Is it clear what happens over here? When the given over here executes, in the right, that thing runs. Okay, but it does not work because there are some missing steps. For example, this. The score is love, love. Now, this thing over here does not have a correspondent on the other side. So let's try. Then, or in Romanian, atunci. And I'm sure if you enjoy this. Ro. Right? Okay, so then, yes, the score is a string, thank you. Assert equals. Bad dog. Bad dog. Bad dog. No, this is assert that, please. I thought you understood by now. Assert that. Please continue the poem. Thank you. Excellent. What? Nothing fun, nothing fancy. It's just that is. Should I take revenge and disable Copilot? No, it's too fun. Afterwards, with who can I argue when I'm alone in the night? Assert that, please. Thank you. Much better. Assertions. Search. Just a second. Now it's a mess here above. Come on, assert that from assert. Thank you. Yes, finally. Assert that, and that's a score, and then that's a static import, and we're good to go. Phew. Good. So the score is, now this should be able to run. Not yet? No, this score. Normally, it should IntelliJ should turn yellow, and I should alt enter and create option enter. But for some reason today is indisposed. So that's one. And then let's see what happens when player mind the space, mind the gap. Player one scores. Good. You wish. I need to copy from over here. How do I give player one the method? Yeah, and try again now with further context. Thank you, good dog. Right? Player for the player number 1 or 2. And you see how this turned blue. And the fun thing, when you have the business in the room with you writing together this, you can control space. So you already have a little like a language that you can use to talk to the business. And actually, that's a very good advice. That's something I want to recommend you. When you approach the business trying to get this done, you should not come empty-handed. You should already have written some of these assertions, right? By the way, is it when or then? It's when. Okay. Okay, and scroll, scroll, scroll. The scroll already. Am I done, really? Can I run all of them? Am I missing any? I should run the whole feature, please. Oh, this. What is this? Oh, I have to have a version that takes the number of points that I win. So that would be, yeah, not has. Scores. Points, good. And then, probably. Green. Hey. Okay. And then the table here, very fun. Is it clear for everyone what happens over here? I write stuff in a human language that we can all understand, and we can argue on these features over here. Okay, that's a good start. Now, dark stories. There is a dream that some teams actually live, and after I'm going to describe the dream, I'm going to ask you if you're living the dream. The dream goes like this. Before you start developing anything, you have a meeting, developers, testers, and the guys that know the functionality best. And during that meeting, we write together a series of feature files that capture what needs to be done for that iteration. Omelette au fromage. And then we all develop stuff, and when that goes green, we're freaking done, and it's not over. But by now, does anyone in the room live this dream? Should be. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. To some extent. Not perfect, but yeah, to some extent you live it. Thank you. There were like 8, 10 hands. Interesting. So we have a discussion with the business. We have a discussion with the business about the functionality in a neutral place, in a language that we can all relate to. Okay? Now, the dream continues. Every time we change the behavior, we edit the feature or we make a new one. One of the guys that raised the hand is like, no, nope, cross me off, no, I'm not there. This is the real game, to have these features act as part of the specification already. It's a runnable specification running on Jenkins that you can reference from Confluence to actually point to the, but the dream is very nice. It leaves no room for misunderstanding between you and the business, right? And it's particularly useful for very complex domains, for places in which you have a lot of rules and very critical places, right? And also there is another dream. Rainbow unicorns, riding fluffy unicorns, I don't know, the business people will maintain the features. Sure. But I've heard this dream in more than 10 teams myself. They said, yes, we hoped. That never happened. Doesn't work. Don't ever. Why? Business guys have a way to think, unless they have a technical background, have a way to think which is different than us. Us, with the if statement and XOR in our brain, think much more precise than they do. They give me some money, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get some more money, and then they have a different way, more chaotic way of thinking, maybe. Different way, let's say like that. It's hard for them to articulate that precise behaviors, but what works is to pair with the business, and the developer will act as the typist, typing the features in the meeting while the business argues with the testers and maybe some stakeholders in the room. Right? And also, this works perfectly if you ever play event storming. After an event storming session, there should be 20 such features coming out of that meeting. All right. Also, it works when the developers are sick of clicking and want to do more automation. And then there's something magic happening. The developers which have the functional overview of the application go to the developer, the testers go to the developer and ask the developer, can you help me automate my tests? And the developers say, of course, we're going to build together some infrastructure for you to write more tests faster. Okay? That works. So when should you use a feature? When should you fight for a feature? Where should you push for a feature? If they change their mind. You know, when they change their mind, they say green, they say blue, and then red, and then yellow. Put a feature. You have a clear trace of what happened. When you have very complex rules and very critical features that you implement, right? If you have a test data that looks like Excel, Not sure if you ever lived that, but when I went a business travel to France to talk to a very smart business analyst, and when after 5 minutes of discussion, he pulled an Excel and he started writing the different combinations of inputs and the outputs that should come out. And guess what? Copy paste from Excel, paste in the feature, run on Jenkins, done. That works. But you have to go prepared. You can't just go there and say, here I am. No. The developer should write as much as one can understand this glue code and as much as you can do before you approach the business. And then you go to the business for fine-tuning and more refinement of what you already understand, right? This works. This, I can testify, it works, okay? So, what are some best practices in this game? Use this language that we all understand. You are not allowed to say string int. You are not allowed to say technical terms, as well as they shouldn't go very dark on the language with you. You should have a shared knowledge. Focus on the behavior, not on the actual implementation. If you want to test the implementation, go unit test. These are called functional tests. These are testing the behavior, right? Keep the steps simple, but do expose the relevant parameters. For example, I should not hide in these steps over here very important information. For example, player scores points shouldn't by default say 7. This 7 is something I want to say to the outside world. Look, if this is scores points, how many? I don't know, I won't tell you. This is very bad, okay? Because that 7 should be out there, validated by the business, of course. Right? Ooh, Selenium. Ooh. Robots clicking through the interface, controlled by some QA automation. Anyone playing Selenium in the house? Selenium. Beautiful. And what do you do when the test fails? Run again. Thank you, run again. Maybe second time. Beautiful, because there are those delays, very ugly. Sorry? Add some weights, exactly. Random weights, not random, but 1 more second. Yes, 1 more second to the build pipeline time. Yay. The point is that these are classically extremely fragile. Targeting the user interface was always famously fragile. So what I would advise you do some tests going the whole flow, indeed, through the UI, but most of your end-to-end tests should start from under the front end, from the REST API, where there is a stable surface, there is a stable contract. The contract between the backend and the front end doesn't happen as often as you shift the buttons and change the IDs and put models. The API is much more stable, right? So you can rely more on it, basically. Oh yes, back here, let's do some refactoring. Refactoring of what? Of a feature. Ooh, duplication. What's that smell? Duplication. How can we fix this? All the scenarios must work on a new game. How would you fix this with JUnit? Before each, correct? Okay. The equivalent would be background. And I can then go and say, let me enjoy the moment a bit. Yeah. Like in the good days. Thank you. Right? Lover. Right. Good. So this acts as a default initialization for all the tests inside, right? Also, if you want to mock external service, I mean, the other things we do normally when testing, for example, mocking external services or sharing state. Let's hold on this for a second. The idea with functional tests is that you won't target a single method in a class. You're going to tackle the whole flow, functional flow, involving many classes, sometimes maybe even hitting the database multiple times. Then that flow would sometimes, of course, reach out to call an API there, to call there another thing. These, of course, to make your tests be reliable, reproducible, and fast, you want to mock them. The same way we mock anywhere, we're going to mock there. So what will that mean? It means that in one of these steps over here, I'm going to do mockito.when then return. When some mock, then return the same way I do every time. Now, sharing state is a dark problem. State in tests was always a dark story. State in tests makes tests running after us blow up because we forgot to delete something from the database. State in tests make tests fail for mysterious reasons. And now if you want to share state between step classes, the recommended way to do this is by using a dependency injection context, whatever you fancy, right? And let me demonstrate the technique over here to see if I'm lucky. I'm going to say here, yeah, I just have to go to POM. I'm going to integrate right now Cucumber with Spring. I'm going to fire up Cucumber. Cucumber automatically, when I will run this feature file, is going to look in this folder for a Cucumber, where are you? For a Cucumber context configuration, this, all right, which is going to tell Cucumber what Spring to boot. And then this Spring to boot, we're going to have here a class called Cucumber tennis context, our friend. This is a dependency injection managed class, which I can then inject in my steps. Over here, I can just say private final, this. Actually, let's just go with private and say auto-wired. And that should do the trick. Now, instead of going tennis score on this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say context dot set tennis score of the new tennis score. I'm basically putting it in this context, which is then shared with other classes having the same thing. Whenever I need to access the tennis score, I'm going to go, how did I name it? Context dot get tennis score. Let's see if I am that lucky. This integration cracks. Oh, I can't believe it. Does it really work? How to prove you? I'm going to do a split. I'm going to crack it in two. In one of them, I'm going to leave one step. In the other, I'm going to leave the others. So let's take the last step, the when, what is it then? The then, and leave it here, the then. I'm technically, putting some steps in one class, the other steps in the other class. If this works, the two are now communicating through that Cucumber tennis context. So what you put in there gets shared between the two classes. And that should do it. That should do for a long, okay. Let me get back to the feature. I want to show you something else, which is fun. No, necessarily. You can do juice. You can do many dependency injection frameworks. But the idea is that whenever there are objects with state, you need someone to wire them up. That I use Spring here because it's already in the project. Static class. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of multi-threading. I'm afraid of static classes. But I bet you can write your own Cucumber object factory based on a static class and live la vida loca like in the 90s. But let's use juice. It takes 3 lines to configure, really. A good experiment. What is this? Ooh, annotations. Do you remember aspect-oriented programming? Ooh, what is this time thing? You can do a tag. Is it clear what happens in here, guys? This is the before for Cucumber, saying around the methods around the scenarios which are annotated with timed, mark the time when you start, mark the time when you exit, and print the difference. Make sense? So I'm now gonna run code before and after this 15 love. So if I run this, you're gonna see In the log, the print. Scenario took, yada, yada. Here. This. If you put the annotation on top of this whole thing, then all of the scenarios are going to be measured, and all of them should have a took here. Scenario took 29. Do I see it correctly? Oh, I'm running a single scenario. I should run all of them. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so the same concept here with at time. And that's fun, but it can get even better. And let's read together another feature. And let me enable this first. Good. Feature, search for product, background. I have this and this supplier in the database. Then when I search product by exact name and supplier, given this product, one product exists, and that product has the name and supplier. When the search criteria contains that name and that supplier, then the product is returned by search. Can we all agree on this? Yes. Good. Scenario, the product is not found if name does not match. Have you ever played dumb with your business? With your PO? You go to the PO and you play dumb. If I search for the exact name, will it work? This is a communication skill that you need to acquire to play dumb. This is a trick you do to get the discussion started. Just to get them talking. And then you guide them with the proper questions where you want. But then if the name contains an X and that X is in uppercase, will it still? For example, I search with 3. So I have the product with the name 3. And then I search by RE. Will it work? And you get them there slowly. Let's see. And then before, I have the same situation here on this side of the game. I need to enable some cucumber config. Boring. Run again. Here. No, not yet. Well, let's try to run the whole story. Run. What do you? Composite cucumber. There were 2 exceptions, okay? The problem is that example, no. That's a bit unexpected. So feature steps, cucumber context configuration. The Spring Boot application is in a different. I can't prove you that, but you should trust my word. It's going to work. I'm just going to put you in the feature. Of course, as a fair developer, as soon as I exit, I'm going to patch it and push the right thing on the Git. It will work on the Git in 10 minutes. But to save your time, I want to bring you to that call with the business in which you say, so 3 should find, and they go, wait a second. So your name is this, yes. And you search by this, yes. Let me call a friend. And the business puts on mute, talks to his loved one, goes back to you and says, yeah, that should work. What? No, should not. If we search by containing, it kills Oracle. Then what should we do? Only the beginning characters? So no, this is a false. This is a normal discussion on a feature file. But then he will come back and say, but you know what? If you search by TR, then it's a true. Starting with, right? So the indexes play nicer to, okay. But then you attack back and say, but what if I search by lower T and big R? I mean case insensitive. You can't tell the business case insensitive search. I mean, depends. But they could scream, right? So you show them examples and you get them there slowly. And then you should say true. Yeah, true. Done. So I can't run. Bad, Victor. But then you come along and say, so this should be false. Yes, this should be true. You see, this is what works. When you already have your homework done, and you approach the business with some examples, you confirm half of them, and you continue building more. This works. I used it myself. You keep them in Git, you run them on CI. More louder, it's far. Let me put the proper sound effect. You run everything on the CI. No, there you go. I should give the tablet. Yes, everything. How much do these run? Do they run 30 minutes or more? These can run an hour. They are famously slow. And you can do tricks. You can write them nightly, you can run them to every 2 hours, you can run them not at every commit. Depends. Yeah. Not happy when I say that. But there is a solution for that also. He said, at ignore. Oh my God, no, it's at disabled. Got you with 04 in the room. Haha. At ignore, eh? No, really. For speeding up things, there is a trick. I'm going to show you. This. I can speed up your tests by 20%. I can reduce your runtime by 25%. No, to a quarter. To a quarter. This is pack number 1. This is pack number 2. And then what? And then do forked JUnit tests, fail-safe with Cucumber, which so basically you start 4 GVM processes in parallel on the same CI, targeting each of them to run the tests with the tag pack 1, pack 2, pack 3, pack 4. So technically, your build was working very, very happy until a point in which it reached Cucumber tests, up until, from the moment in which it spins off 4 more GVMs to run 25% each of your cucumbers. So I just reduced your runtime to a quarter. It works. The secret is to do process-based forking with targeting your tests to, and depending on how many processors you can throw at it, you can parallelize it on 10 tags, right? But more about that, maybe we can talk about that in the one-to-one after we discuss. Good. Bad news, guys. If no one cares about your features and only developers work with the features, you are wasting your boss's money. You are stealing from the company, technically. Because it's a waste of your time and your boss's money. When only developers work with this functional tests, it makes no sense investing in this new abstraction layer. This only pays off if you have a business with you in the room talking about those features. If there is only developers writing, maintaining, reading, what I recommend you do is to write them in a domain-specific test language. I'm going to show you an example right now. And I would also invite you to consider more dense languages. I mean, have your production in Java and your tests in Kotlin. Or Python, why not? If it's written correct, if it's written cleanly, it can read very well. The point is, you want compact code. If you write it in Java, it's very verbose, right? So then this would become a testing framework, a testing domain-specific language. Anyone heard of Uncle Bob? Robert C. Martin, thank you. Half, only half. What's wrong with you? He changed the industry, damn it. Never mind the mistakes he did. He changed the freaking industry. How did you get hired? Didn't they interview you from the Clean Code book? When you join my project, I wouldn't give you the permissions to write on it until you prove me that you've read the first 80 pages of Clean Code book. The first, I think, 80 pages. So then look at this test. Given posts, post one. Do you have Twitter? Twitter, LinkedIn, Twitter? No? X, how do I call it? Do you have Twitter or X? The rest of you. Do you have email? How do you You just hunt for a job on LinkedIn, no article, anyway. So this thing over here is a kind of a social media platform. Post 1 from Alice, and by 1 it means chronology. Post 2 comes from Bob, 3 from Charlie, 4 from okay. Okay. And then Alice follows Bob and Charlie. Oh, okay. Okay. When Alice checks her wall, pay attention what happens now. The first post you see is the last one posted, of course. Make sense? Also the rest, Instagram, TikTok. Okay, I'm complete. What? What should I ask for everyone to raise their hand? Facebook. What? 20%. Okay, good. So Illuminati and stuff. Okay, don't do it. So 6 and 6 is the last one posted, is the first one at the top of your feed. At least that you know? Yes, thank you, good. Slack. Social media platform, Slack. Good. So guys, 6, 5, but where is 4? Uh-oh. Where's 4? Who's 4? Julie. Why isn't Julie in my feed? I don't follow her. Cute. Do you see how many things you are able to read in a single test like that? And what is the magic happening, guys? All of these methods, given post, Alice follows, these are static methods in a class that Uncle Bob himself wrote to do, for example, registering a user, creating a post, and fires freaking REST calls to your deployed application running in a Docker. So you can have a domain-specific language. That's what this name comes from. Domain-specific language that allows you to build, it's like test scaffolding, right? Allows you to build more dense, more richer tests. Ew. JavaScript, almost JavaScript. Groovy, okay. Oh. Ooh la. I forgot the columns for the function name. The Kotlin spoke. Just a second. I'm searching for the character. Delivery space times space. And that's a method, guys, right? Is back quote, parentheses. Beautiful. If you are true Kotlin, you should tell me arrow. Put an arrow. Good. So this is why we like other languages. They provide us more flexibility. It will scare the heck out of your recruitment team. The fact that you now play with Kotlin, and they have to hire Java and Kotlin. But it's an interesting perception. You can do Python, depending on what you have in the company. The idea is a more compact and more dense language over there. Or Java. I don't have anything against Java. With those abstract asserts that she showed you. All right. Okay, fun. Now I want to show you something interesting. Starting from that space between the quotes, I want to show you something fun. Didn't you ever wanted that those tests read better? I mean, look at how my customer validator reads. Just a second. Customer validator test. These tests are not really CT2, big T, then it's camel case. We developers, this is how we write our emails. Right? The pinky is on the shift. We write to our wives and loved ones with the shift, and she knows. My wife already knows. Right? But wouldn't it be great to have here, for example, test, let's see, name, display name generator, pretty, okay, what is this? Your pipeline smiles again. You can technically show this to your business. And they could say, okay, but here's what I have left for you to show you. Let's see if this still works. This is fun. Where is that? No. Where are you? Customer validator exporter. I can't seem to find you. Just a second, guys. Service customer facade. Do I have a test for this? Yes. All right. Let me show you this. Let's read together. Create customer should fail if city was too short. I need to say was. Bad, Victor. Missing email. Another customer with the same name, with the same email exists. Missing city. But why are they? What is this? This madness. What? Nested test classes, exactly. But I want to discuss a bit the principle with you, not necessarily the implementation in JUnit 5. Basically, why do we need this kind of nesting of our tests? What happens is that this is not how our tests look like. They are not linear. This is sorry. It was 3 a.m. when I designed this slide. It's not the best one, but look, tests are more like this. Does this make any sense to you? Not quite. Not quite. What's the connection? They have a common trunk for all the tests. 30 tests rely on the initialization we do over here. 30 tests are on top. But then some of them take left. Here. 10 of them. So there are 30 red tests based on the common. That's the best I can do. Okay? I'm talking about a very, very complicated endpoint. Have you ever seen the checkout flow of an e-shop? Checkout. /checkout. I've seen the /checkout of the biggest e-shop in Romania. Oh my God. But the point is that I think there were over 100 tests going through the checkout. 80 of them turned left, 20 turned right, and so on. So they all needed some shared setup. Make sense? That shared setup is the fact that I have to have a customer, a cart, some products, some items, some stock, some la 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 la. Some of them are for a company. And if you are a company, you need to have a VAT code. La, 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 la. If you are not, other stuff. So this is called a hierarchical test fixture. The idea is this. You have at the beginning a before each, which stands for everything. And then you have two nested classes that explore the two big branches of your tree. This is the common trunk, the common base for all of them. Some of them turn left, some of them turn green, others turn blue, right? Depending on what you want for the valid customer, there is additional setup. Yeah, okay, thank you. Good. So you package them one inside the other. This works with JUnit 5, but in practice, if you play this, you're not going to see here, in practice here, it needs another 0. Because it's going to grow very big. So the other solution of doing nested is by subclassing. You have a base test class that provides the shared setup. I'm sure that you are already doing this. If you have an integration test base that you extend from, or a Kafka base test, but then I'm trying to say that for a specific endpoint, you can build more context in, and then on top of it, more to fork on different. But there are not 2, there are 20 here and 10 here, right? Okay. Hierarchical fixtures can save the day, these things, for very, very complex flows that you want to test as a whole, that you can't really break apart. Last slide. I can't believe it. I'm never on time. This one. I have 5 more minutes. Let's recap what we did and then maybe questions. Oh my God. Why do we write tests? Why do we write tests? so that we can refactor. What else? Documentation. Again? To prove that it really does the stuff without clicking. Fight the testers. Thank you. Good presentation. To read well, live documentation. There you go. What else? Coverage. You learned the Romanian word. Coverage. For hot coverage. Brattles. Perfect. Coverage percentage means not that much. Do branch, not line. And always try to mutation test your mutate your test to see. Technically, you mutate the production. Use mutation testing to prove the correctness of your test. Prepare some canned data that you then tweak further to explore all the possibilities. Name your test with the effect and then the condition backwards. Is activated when he places an order. Do not ever use assertEquals. We witnessed today to the death of these methods in assertions from Jupyter. Death to them. Use assert that. Okay? Good. We did test AOP with extensions in JUnit, with tags in Cucumber. Guys, it was a flood of information. You probably need half of. You know where to find them. The slides are all posted, and the Git, it's already there. And then parameterized tests, whenever you have a data-intensive algorithm with many branches, with a high cyclomatic complexity, if you just tweak the parameters and you get an explosion of combinations, then parameterized test is your friend. Approval test means you go to your production, you break the production, and you change the production, and you look at how the test failed, and then you approve or disapprove. And you approve by copy-pasting the. Characterization test is a weapon to use against terrible legacy. To just the hardest part in characterization testing, guys, is to capture the inputs and the outputs on that monumental code you're trying to cover. That acquisition of inputs and outputs takes 90% of your time. And then you just fire more tests until it gets everything green, or you record it from production. Don't tell the GDPR team I told you that. Gherkin, for having a common language and a common place to work together, is not like asking for approval. Guys, I want to insist a bit on this. I could show them this. The business can read this, but it's not enough. I don't want them to review. The same way I prefer to do pair programming rather than code reviews. Who here prefers pair programming over code reviews? Hoi, 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 crushing majority. Excellent. Pair programming, working with someone, with the business, with the testers, to come up with, to engineer together, to create. It's always more fun when you build stuff together than when you criticize. Oh, I should say was. It's my baby, take your hands off it. This is the feeling. If you're building it together, it's much, much more fun. Hierarchical test fixtures and the test qualities that I think we've already covered at the beginning. And with that, I'm out of time. I'm 1 minute. So please share with others the joy of testing. Play with your teams and do little experiments based on this Git. And I hereby allow you to use all my slides that I'm going to post on social media to debate, train, teach, brainstorm with your team. What next? Hunt me down. I saw Twitter and LinkedIn both ask for money if you want to direct message someone. I was shocked this morning. I wanted to contact someone and I couldn't. They asked for money. It wasn't like that. I used to be able to direct message anyone. Anyway, for that matter, that's my email over there. Okay? So who has email? Thank you. You can reach me. Good. There are 2 other things that you could watch from last year, DevVox here. Test-driven insights and testing microservices, in which I talk about Spring. There is also a great talk that happened yesterday, I mentioned before. And if you want to keep close, join this. It's very fun. Every month, I promise to tell you more. Every month, we meet for 1 hour on Zoom to talk about various things. 5 p.m. this time. we talk about various things. So be there in the Zoom meeting. There's usually over 100 people in the Zoom and 80 more in YouTube's live stream. Be there is very fun, completely free. What? The translation was fun, or what? Ay. Really? Live fix. Okay. Go. Come on. Paste. And does this work? Please don't pay anything, but don't pay. Freedom for developers. Good. With that, I thank you very much, everyone, and I will be on the hallway waiting for you to stalk me. Thank you so much. Have a great conference.
All systems are nominal. Initialize Genesis